was here. She walked right back in. She might be in the restroom. Yeah, she was no, she walked back in. Yeah.
Lane, you want one?
I don't want that. Can I just have a mic?
The entity. Sure. I'll ask you about the entity. Hey everyone, we're getting ready to start the panel. So if you guys want to grab a seat, there's tons of seats all throughout here, especially at the other end by the ducks. Don't worry, the ducks do not bite. So I'm going to start by introducing the panel also, and a little bit of history, but kind of before we jump into this, let's talk a little bit about the motivations behind this event. There are big happenings in deep tech. We hear about quantum all the time, and photonics, and biotech, and sensors, and the question is, where do you build that kind of stuff? And we have an ecosystem here in the Central Texas area. There's a reason why Austin is known as Silicon Hills. If you've ever heard of that, it's kind of a faded moniker, but I'll go into some history about the industry here. And Semitech, if you've never heard of what Semitech is, I'll talk a little bit about that. And on the panel, we've got representation from 3 of the local universities about their academic clean rooms and the importance of their role in this ecosystem at this time. And then we'll talk a little bit about the future, recent announcements and things like that. So to kind of understand a little bit about the ecosystem, you need to understand that there are differences between different clean rooms and fabs where you would build, nanofabricate something. What you would probably know as the TSMCs, the NXPs, the Infineon and Samsungs, those are standard fabs. They have very standardized processes for doing electronics. And this talk is about everything not electronics. And so we're kind of not going to talk about them a whole lot. Also, if you want to do deep tech, which often involves new materials and things like that, there are actual technical risks where you really wouldn't want to share a fab with Apple, for instance, because if you trash their yields, everybody's going to come after you. So that's not really a good place to do deep tech where those guys are operating. Semitech was founded and was a consortium founded here in Austin in the 80s. We'll talk a little bit about Semitech and its history and successors. That's a custom fab. You come with an idea, and it's sort of a green space, incubator space for startup companies, and a lot of technologies were basically prototyped here in Austin that you probably have not known or heard was developed here. And the academic clean rooms, of course, they serve the student body, but they're also open for startup companies to do some prototyping and things like that. In general, you can't do manufacturing there, but they serve an important role for being able to get through your bridge funding and get you to your Series A, for example. Okay, can't do it there. All right, I've been having this problem. It seems to be associated with plugging into this thing over here. It might happen a couple more times. Apologies if it does. So I talked about Semitech. Well, Semitech no longer exists, and the entities that were Semitech, the successors in this thing, they also don't exist anymore. It's now known as the Texas Institute for Electronics. Belongs to UT Austin, run by UT Austin, and they are remodeling and retooling. But at the moment, you can't use that facility. So that leaves us with the academic clean rooms here in the Central Texas area. That's where we're at for being able to nanofabricate your gadget. And we'll have some panelists talking about now. Nathan, why don't you come on up? So Nathan is from the Texas State, and he represents the Nanofabrication Research Service Center. And he's past of the University of Leeds, Michigan State, and ISS Neutron and Muon facility. He's a current assistant professor in physics at Texas State, and he's representing us. Tell me a little bit about the NRSC, which I always have trouble pronouncing.
Of course, thank you so much. So I'm an assistant professor at Texas State University, and I'm here to kind of talk a little bit about our clean room facility. So if my lab's on the 4th floor, then our clean room is in the basement. We have a user facility that is open, so it's open to academic groups. It's also open for any external user to come. We kind of have equipment that would be great for prototyping, and we do also a lot of teaching and education in our clean room as well. So of the clean room space, about maybe half of the square footage is actually teaching space, and then the rest of it is space that's for research. And yeah, we kind of go from nanoscale, e-beam lithography through to photolithography, and we have a lot of tools that are available for people to use.
Thank you. By the way, there are QR codes throughout this presentation, so if you want to connect or learn more about the entities, there will be an opportunity to scan them, and there's even a screen behind you in case you can't get it resolved up here. Our next panelist, Arun Han from the Texas A&M University, talking about AggieFab. Arun is the director of the AggieFab, nanofabrication facility at Texas A&M. He's a professor of electrical engineering and has a variety of other roles. And his past role was in Georgia Tech. Did it not progress? Thank you. There we go. Arun. Oh, you have, does it work?
I hope it works.
I can hear you.
All right. Arun Han, I'm a faculty in electrical and computer engineering, Texas A&M University, been there for 20 years. I've been the director of the AggieFab nanofabrication facility. That's A&M's main clean room facility, about 8,000 square foot of clean room, another 6,000 square foot of support space. Similar to Texas State, we are open to both internal and external users, so we have a number of startup companies utilizing it. We have national labs coming, use it, fully staffed facility. And then we also have quite a bit of biotech presence in the biotech company utilizing our facility. My personal research is more on the microfluidics, lab on a chip, organ on a chip side, so that's why I intersect between clean room fab and the biotech. One thing to notice, we are working on a new clean room, so we'll have a brand new clean room in about 2.5 years. That's going to be a 300 millimeter fab that's currently going through a final design phase. So once that's done, we're going to have 2 clean room. One is a current clean room, what we call a coupon fab, basic R&D. The next one will be more of a prototype, advanced, larger scale clean room fab. So,
thank you. Our next panelist, Shuling Lee from the University of Texas at Austin, representing the Microelectronics Research Center. She is director of the Microelectronics Research Center, and she is a UT engineering faculty and a co-founder of the Texas Quantum Institute. Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, I don't need to do this. All right, I'm here to represent the Microelectronics Research Center. If you use Google Map, if you just type in MRC, it's actually going to take you there. It's on the Pickle campus, not in the downtown campus. It is 12,000 square feet, class 100 clean room. It is the state of art, especially with the recent investment of $27 million to upgrade the equipment. We have the whole suite, 3 e-beam lithographies, lots of deposition, lots of etching tools. So we already have lots of users, both internal, external, on-campus. External means different departments beyond ECE. And we also have external users, including lots of startups, so you're all welcome to visit and take advantage of what we have there. Be glad to have you. Thanks.
Thank you. Next on our panel is Dr. Alex Demkov. Dr. Alex Demkov is the CEO and founder of Luce Cristallina and physics faculty at UT Austin. His past includes Motorola Research and Semitech. And why don't you tell us a little bit about Luce Cristallina?
All right. So during the day, I teach physics at UT. Okay. Can you hear me now? All right. So during the daytime, I teach physics at UT, and at night I run Luce, which is a small startup out of UT Austin, and we sell specialized wafers for silicon integrated photonics. And we've been in existence for 3 years now. Right now we're selling R&D scale wafers, so they're small, they're 50 millimeters wide, so it's a 2-inch wafer. And then the tool which can produce 8-inch wafers is coming in 2 weeks, I guess. And so we'll start selling those. Thank you.
You can keep that mic. Okay. Next. I do have a loud voice, but I will use this. Next is Mario Sierra. Mario is the founder and CEO of HarmonIQ Biosciences. I hope I pronounced it correctly. And his background is in clinical research, operations, medical devices. And tell us a little bit about HarmonIQ Biosciences.
Before I do that, I think you forgot doctor on my name, but no, I'm just kidding. The only doctor not on the panel, but thank you so much, Horacio, for the introduction. Yeah, my name is Mario Sierra. I founded HarmonIQ Biosciences. We're creating a continuous hormone monitoring device. You can think like CGM for glucose, but monitoring hormones, estrogen, testosterone, cortisol as a couple of examples. Founded the company at the beginning of the year, and we're working on our MVP. And the reason that I'm here is to bridge the gap between hardware and biology. I'm a biochemist by training. I don't speak hardware, but I'm learning after I founded this company and trying to bridge the ecosystems here.
Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce John Randall. John Randall is the CEO of Zyvex Labs, past Texas Instruments. IMEC is an organization that's in Europe that's very similar to Semitech, so it's another consortium. Also MIT Lincoln Laboratories. John, tell us a little bit about Zyvex.
So Zyvex got founded in 1997, so we're a startup that's lasted a while, by Jim Von Air, who has read Feynman and Drexler and decided what the world needed. In 97 was a nanotechnology company, not only a nanotechnology company, but one that was working on the end game of nanotech, back then what people were calling a molecular assembler. And he tricks me into joining him. I left TI to join him in 2001, and he tricked me into being into management, which I've had all sorts of fun doing. We have the highest resolution, highest precision lithography tool on the planet. It's based on an STM, but we have grandiose plans on how we can dramatically improve the productivity of that by going massively parallel. There's one thing I want to say that is really around all what we're going to talk about here. We've got a bunch of semiconductor equipment, and we're trying to use it for quantum, bio, photonics, and frankly, semiconductor equipment is sloppy. The lithography at its resolution is like plus and minus 10%. It's really hard sometimes to use. They've been used successfully, but it really limits some of the things we can do. So precision is a really key thing that I want to talk about.
Thank you, John. All right. So that's me. I help startup companies nanofabricate their gadget in the semiconductor industry. So if you're like Mario and you have no background, you would come talk to me and I would help you get there and help you find and select a foundry, help you de-risk your project, help you scope it properly and cost it properly so you talk to your investors with the correct numbers. And then I also help you get it to production. And I've done that several times for other people. All right, let's do a quick audience poll. Raise your hand if you're a student. Excellent. This is not exclusive, so you can raise your hand multiple times. Raise your hand if you are interested in quantum, anything in quantum. Quite a bit. All right, raise your hand if you're interested in photonics. Quite a few people here, yeah. Biotech. See my biotech people here. All right, well represented. Any semiconductor professionals, people that are in the industry? Quite a few, excellent. Any investors, business dev, incubators, policy, excellent. You guys have a role in this conversation, actually. Who are our APS members? Who has an active membership at APS? Thank you for your APS membership. All right. This is something that's typical of most Capital Factory events. How long have you been in Austin? So if it's more than 10 years, raise your hand. That's not bad for a Capital Factory. Okay, who's been here less than 5 years?
I've been here, I'm not here, so that's less than 5.
Well, oh yeah, that's true. That's true, I didn't do that real well, did I? All right, so between 10 and 5. Okay, a few. And less than 1 year. A few, okay. So because of the fact that so many people have moved to Austin, I got a little bit of a history that I put together with AI about clean rooms in the industry in Central Texas and why we earned the moniker Silicon Hills. This graph behind me is the total number of running fabs versus time. And the solid circle is openings, and this open circle is closings. If it starts with MOS, as in MOS 2, MOS 3, MOS 8, BAT 1, those are all Motorola facilities. If it starts with Fab, like Fab 14, Fab 15, that's the old AMD. AMD used to have fabs, if you didn't know that. And then if it's S1, S2, those are Samsung. And then the one that says Metric Boulevard, that is Magic Leap. And Semitech just says Semitech. But you can see that, you know, back in the 80s, it started in the 70s, mid-70s with MOS 2, MOS 3. But in the 80s is when we really ramped up. And in the 90s, we kind of peaked at 10 clean rooms in Austin. And then .com happened. And there were a lot of closures during that time frame. And then I helped shut down. I worked at MOS 8. I helped shut it down. And then we've had a couple openings since then, but you know, it still looks pretty anemic. Now, most of these are in the standardized process development kind of world. Semitech is in the custom world. Semitech was formed in 1988 to help the semiconductor industry compete against, at that time, Japan. Sounds a lot like the CHIPS Act today and competing against China. It's a very similar sort of thing. This was a consortium between the US government, industry, and UT Austin. The clean room was on UT Austin land at Montopolis and Old Thorpe. And it had a $200 million annual budget with a 50-50 split between the member companies and DARPA. Its mandate changed over the years. They even opened another facility in Albany, New York. And then eventually the state of New York was subsidizing things a little bit more than we were here. And so Semitech packed up and left for New York. But in the process, they left behind an entity, a corporate entity called ATDF, the Advanced Technology Development Foundry, which then was a commercial, since it was a commercial entity, it kind of went through a lot of badge changes. It merged with Silicon Valley Technology Center, which had a fab from San Jose. That went bankrupt during the Great Recession. And out of the bankruptcy came Novati Technologies when Tezeron, which was one of the customers, bought them in order to vertically integrate. I joined Novati Technologies and worked there for 7 years. Towards the end there, Scorpios Technologies, a photonics company, bought Novati. And that persisted at that location until UT Austin decided not to renew the lease and to focus on CHIPS money and to build the Texas Institute for Electronics, which is what's there now. In case you didn't know, the New York clean room associated with Semitech is now called New York Creates. It's a very large center for custom fabrication of all kinds of tech. I need to include the history of Skywater Tech because this is a bit of the future, potentially, of Austin. So Skywater was created in Bloomington, Minnesota. It's an old Cypress fab. It was purchased with private equity money from Oxbow Industries, and they're the only US based pure play foundry. You would think of global foundries, but that's actually like United Emirates or something like that. I'm not sure who owns it, but it's one of the oil sovereigns. They are a trusted foundry, so they can do projects for defense and intelligence, and so they have a number of awards from the DoD, and they have a advanced packaging facility in Florida, and they have announced that they are buying Fab 25 from Infineon, again, over around Montopolis and Oldtorf. So that's a fab here in Austin. And if that deal goes through, it would be the return of custom manufacturing all the way to production here in Austin. So that would be kind of an interesting deal. The history here is interesting because of the connection with private equity and also a lot of the government support and government contracts that they have for potentially being sustainable. Skywater has never been through a recession, so we don't know if their business model is going to survive testing, but they are trying to expand to a second fab. So let's get the panel started here. At this point,
there's one point that I think we ought to make. We have a panel basically of most of us nanofabricators.
Most of us, yeah.
And so something you have to understand, if somebody's a nanofabricator, it might mean that they tell small lies.
Ba-dum-bum.
Yeah.
All right, Nathan, first question for you. How does Texas State Nanofabrication Research Service Center balance student access for learning labs with faculty and external users of advanced research needs?
So I think the most important point to make is that actually for faculty users, it's our students who are doing the advanced research inside the clean room. So we have a very accessible clean room, especially for undergraduates all the way through to our graduate students and our postdocs and faculty. We give them access to the facility. The ones we trust will give 24/7 access to the facility, so they can kind of go in whenever the research needs to be done or whenever their schedule works. We have about half of our clean room that's dedicated for teaching, and so there are several undergraduate and graduate courses that use that. So part of the time for our clean room technicians, part of the time for the people who work there is for teaching. So any student can take a class credit, any department can organize a class to go and use that facility, and that's available to the students for free and for the departments for free. So we manage that by having, probably smaller numbers of students involved in the research groups, and then we have a separate clean room bay that is used for teaching and for doing those kinds of classes. So we're able to give kind of, for students who just want to get a little bit of an introduction, they'll go in and they'll fab a 2 or 3 inch wafer in photolithography. And for students who are interested in research, they'll get involved with the research group and do more advanced things.
Thank you. Arun, what is the single biggest barrier to developing chips for biotechnology applications, which is quite different from conventional semiconductor chips?
So I would say 2 things. One is the standardization and then the volume. So if you think about computer chips, CMOS, same unit, connected millions and billions of time. When you talk about biotech chip, for example, microfluidic chip, everybody's chip is slightly different. Everybody's module, everybody's functions are different. So very difficult to standardize. Relies quite a bit on experience. So that lack of standardization means that you can't really have a EDA software for microfluidic chips. That makes it difficult. Second one is the volume is low. In other words, if you think about no microfluidic chip will have a sales of, at least currently, nowhere close to sales of $1 billion. Whereas in a computer chip, there are many chips that makes a sales of $1 billion. So that lack of volume and then a customization, it's what makes it very challenging, uniquely challenging for those biotechnology-related chips.
Mario, what role should nanofabrication facilities play in de-risking early-stage biotech, not just as a tool provider, but as a strategic innovation partner?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the challenges that I can speak to that I've had in founding this company is basically speaking with hardware people. We speak a different language, and having people in your companies that can translate the technical details of what goes into a silicon wafer and how that can translate into a biosensor like we're building would be really crucial for me. I would love to have contacts within companies that can kind of do that translational discovery, or somebody that you can dedicate resource-wise to my company as like a project manager. And again, it'd be really early stage. It wouldn't be a large lift, a couple of hours a week maybe, to kind of project manage our startup and take them through a process. We would be able to de-risk our investment, understanding if it's even feasible with the company that we're talking with. And then once we get to a stage where we've kind of proven out that we can create an MVP, having the backing of that company would help with investors, saying that they're kind of validating that this is a feasible piece of technology and we can work with this company, de-risks the investment for investors.
Arum, do you have anything to add to that, or?
And that's precisely one of the reasons why fab like the AgriFab at Texas A&M University is supporting those startups by providing expertise. So we have close to 15 professional staff that are staff members of a clean room. They do quite a bit of work with startup companies, and then they do a lot of tech development or support. So if the customer comes, here's a device we'd like to make, we kind of don't know how to make it. We actually guide them through, these are steps you should take to make your prototype, and we help that process. And that experience is what we think can be very, very helpful for the startup companies to make it much quicker and de-risking their process.
Yeah, one additional thought there is some of the models that I've seen with fabs is that it can either be a certain dollar amount a month, so it can range from like $1,000 to $2,500 a month to actually go in and use some of the pieces of technology, which can be relatively expensive, especially for a bootstrapping company like mine. So it's limited resources, and it can be semi-expensive to jump in.
Running a clean room is expensive, so yeah, it gets passed on to the customers. We'll talk a little bit more about funding in a second. Alex, we've heard a little bit about your company, La Luce Cristallina, barium titanate. Where is your company going to be in 5 years?
That's an excellent question. I have no idea. But the plan is to maintain our leadership in barium titanate space. We want to be the supplier of large area barium titanate on SOI wafers in the United States and around the world. And then we would like to get the revenue into a few $1 million a year. And to do that, I want to make a comment. Photonics industry is very different from semiconductor industry. In semiconductor industry, you typically make what you sell. In silicon integrated photonics, they don't make anything, they only design. And there's a handful of foundries around the world which offer processes, and that's like a Korean restaurant. There's a picture of what they can make for you. And you say, can you make me scrambled eggs? And they go, sure, but we won't. This is the picture of what we sell for breakfast. So if you cannot design a photonic structure, which is possible to manufacture in a foundry, there's no go. And so our goal is to have all foundries, AMF, AIM Photonics, Tower Semiconductor, Skywater, you name it, to have a process which is amenable to large area barium titanate wafers. So that's probably feasible in 5 years.
Shuling, what is your role with the Texas Quantum Institute, and how does the MRC support the goals and objectives of TQI, and will that collaboration result in innovation in quantum device development?
Great question. So another hat I wear is the co-director of Texas Quantum Institute. And I'm an ECE faculty, so I actually teach Fab. I've been teaching Fab in my previous institution for 15 years, and I've been at UT for 4 years. I've been teaching Fab all these years, where we take a plain silicon wafer, 4 levels of lithography, making to integrated circuit. So the Intel slogan from sand to integrated circuit It's exactly how we train students with the manufacturer mentality. Now that we're going to make 2 nanometer transistors, we're making micron channels. So when we started the Quantum Institute, the goal was to bring together the pockets of quantum activities on campus. And what is quantum? You ask everybody, they'll give you different answers. And I want to say what we did with the Quantum Institute is we have 4 thrusts: the algorithm, the materials, the metrology, and the devices and systems. For the device and systems and the material side of those, if you want to fab something, now that everybody's going to go make the superconducting qubit, IBM, Google know how to do that very well. We have faculty who try to make those qubits more stable, less interference, all that. But if you want to support those qubits and transduce the microwave, say, to optical frequency, you need BTO, and you need other nonlinear materials. And if you want to have another startup company doing the competition with the BTO, all that, we could be the place for you to try. We're not a silicon fab, by the way. We do a lot of compound semiconductor-related research, and we're at much lower TRL than what Texas Institute for Electronics, is actually going to do. So there are plenty of opportunities, and we do allow very unique elements going in the clean room, but we do have policy how to actually prevent cross-contamination. So as MRC supports quantum-related technology.
Thank you. Mario, as a founder working at the edge of biotechnology and microfabrication, what is missing from the current infrastructure that could radically accelerate biotech innovation in Central Texas?
Yeah, I think in the Texas area, just really understanding what we have available. So like that chart that you had with all the fabs, that's new information for me, right? So like a repository of information where a startup can go and be like, what's available in my ecosystem? It's a lot easier to innovate within an ecosystem than trying to pull the different things from different areas, expertise-wise. And then I think, yeah, just more, like I said before, like these operational roles that can bridge different disciplines within companies and help us innovate faster.
I will say that the SEMI organization has a lot of that information online and is available, SEMI, so you should check out that organization. John, what is the single biggest barrier to developing quantum electronic devices, and which kind of devices are you referring to?
Actually, all of them. And actually, it's not just quantum. If you look at photonics, and if you get down to the molecular level with biotech as well, precision, again, as I mentioned before, is a really key part here. I spent 10 years of my life at Texas Instruments trying to make we made quantum resonant tunneling devices. We made quantum dot diodes, we made quantum resonant tunneling transistors, and we knew that we had to have really good dimensional control, so the vast majority of quantization was happening with epitaxial layers, and we had spectacular epitaxy guys, 3-5 epitaxy guys. But even with the best epitaxial, we wanted to make some multi-level logic using the different energy levels in the quantized regions. We could get great multi-level current peaks at different voltages, but they weren't the same from any two devices. Even with the best epitaxy, which is a lot easier to get very accurate compared to the lithography, it was a major problem. And that for virtually every type of quantum device, either solid state or photonic, or even some of these, to a lesser extent, the trapped ions, precision is really what's going to get you there. It's not that you couldn't potentially get Intel's currently trying to make top-gated quantum dot semiconductor diodes, and they're expecting to be able to do it in their fabs. They might get away with it, but it's going to be a really fight, because even with I think 4 linear but because their lithography is not precise enough to get the energy levels to line up, they tweak each qubit electrostatically, and for a linear array of 4 qubits, you can do that. But if you're going to solve Shor's algorithm, you need a million logical qubits, not to mention even more functional qubits, physical qubits, and the wiring and crosstalk nightmare they're going to run into is just unbelievable. So precision is really at a key part of getting quantum to work. Again, I've been talking to some photonics people recently, and they need more precision than they can get currently from their manufacturing tools. So precision.
See, different language.
Yeah, translating the jargon back and forth is always a big challenge between the client side and the
Could I
founder
real
side.
quick make one public service announcement? Fueling mentioned 2 nanometers, okay? You hear people, the different chip makers talking about their 5 nanometer node, their 2 nanometer node, their 18 angstrom node, and people, actually Google's AI thinks that that means that's the minimum feature in those integrated circuits. It's not. It used to be. It's all marketing now. The 2 nanometer node stuff is made with the minimum feature size of about 15 angstroms. Okay, so don't be, a lot of people hear this 2 nanometer, oh, you can do 2 nanometer lithography now. Well, no, the industry can't. That's a marketing thing that somebody came up with, and it confuses lots of people.
Thank you for that. This is primarily directed at our directors here of various clean rooms and representatives. With the funding model for universities being challenged by tax status, changes to endowments, reduction of overhead for indirect costs on grants, and proposed cuts to science funding, are the university clean rooms at risk of closure?
First? Okay. So I think one of the real advantages that we have at Texas State is that we're a lean operation. So our clean room, we run it on a direct cost model, and and it is very lean. And Texas State is still a growing university, so we're going to be bringing in new faculty. New faculty means new users. So perhaps even as other sources of funding might be drying up, there may still be internal users, there may still be new opportunities perhaps at the state level as well for us. But yeah, I think as being both a kind of educational resource, so we'll still have students who'll still be paying their tuition fees. Thank you guys. We're a lean operation, and I don't think there's any risk at Texas State.
So overall, I think there's no risk of closure. I think every university, as we see the news, every university will impact it. We have the, I'm also Associate Dean for Research, College of Engineering. We did some of the cost model of what a 15% IDC and a half cut in federal research funding means. So that will be a dramatic cut. We don't think it will happen that dramatically. If you're, for example, going to a full cost model, it'll be actually better. It'll be more work, but I think going to a full, there will be definitely a difficult time, but there are pockets of areas that are much bright. These are semiconductor, quantum, AI, defense tech, national security. These are all heavy users of clean room facility. So those areas will still thrive. The support the state of Texas provides compared to other places will make this place much better, much stronger compared to other places. As you saw from the latest legislative session, there's actually no budget cut for for the universities. So I think, yes, some challenging time will come, but I think we'll be actually in a fairly strong position compared to many other places.
This is a live stream? Okay.
Yes.
Remember, very small
Censor.
lives.
All right, clean room finance. We're supported by 3 sources of funding. I think it's very similar for other clean rooms also. One is clean room fee. You use the clean room, you pay hourly fees. And second source of funding is the indirect cost return of federal grants. And the third source of funding is state or endowment, whatever that funding that directly gets allocated to each clean room. No clean room can be self-sustained. No clean room can just rely on user fees. Otherwise, you cannot afford to use the clean room. Think about what it takes to build a fab. The unit is billions of dollars for production. And how long does it take to actually have return of that investment? A long time and a large volume. We have no volume, very small volume in university clean rooms. So you cannot rely on hourly charge to actually sustain the operation of a clean room. So we're always at risk to close down the clean room if we lose major source of funding. So we always try to get more and more users, and we try to keep our equipment up so you can get what your money is worth. But these things constantly is in the back of our mind. If administrators fully understand what it takes to run the clean room, and we have constant support and more support, everybody wins. So this is the situation. And now with the reduction of indirect cost return, we're more at risk than ever. So I want to say we really need to keep up with all different kinds of investment in order to have an ecosystem to allow small volume, low volume kind of innovation to continue. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, if I can add something there too. My thesis on the Austin space, or I mean the explanation that you gave too, is we started as a hardware ecosystem, pivoted to a software ecosystem, and now the pendulum is kind of swinging back to hardware. If we want more hardware companies to establish base here, we need to provide resources and have spaces at these clean rooms where they can start innovating and creating their wafers and integrating that into their devices. So that would be another pipeline that we could establish.
Yeah, let me throw in just real briefly. You might look at the success and history of Cimatech versus the success and history of IMEC. IMEC has been very aggressive about engaging with the technology companies and promoting their work and doing a lot of press release on it. Cimatech wasn't as adaptable and ended up closing down. IMEC today is really a thriving organization doing a lot of great work. So looking at how you position and actually reach out and involve yourself with other academic and industrial users, I think would be key to anybody that wants a sustainable fab.
This is a nice segue to the next question, which is open to the whole panel to respond. Kind of raise your hand if you want to respond, if you're ready to respond. What role does private equity, biz dev, accelerator programs, policymakers, existing semiconductor companies, and the Capital Factory have that could have a meaningful impact on this ecosystem to build what we envision? Do you think we can, for example, repurpose clean room facilities that are slated to be closed down in order to be this green space for deep tech? Whoever wants to take the lead.
I'll repeat myself here. Actually, I think the answer is to engage with not only local but other industries and efforts within different academic and even national labs and figure out what's going to work for them. And if you just fill up a space with reactive ion etchers, evaporators, and lithography tools, but don't really know who's going to use them or what they're going to use them for, that's a recipe for not doing well. I think you really have to reach out to the local community and reach out beyond the local community if you can, and find people that are willing to invest time and effort in making a real value out of the facility.
Arun?
I think for this to work, positive, what I call maybe a positive feedback is very important. Clean room operation is a very costly endeavor. for many universities, clean room is basically in terms of revenue, I mean, people are subsidizing the clean room very heavily. So they'll make money. Whether clean room have one user or have 100 users, the baseline cost is very similar. You need to maintain the equipment, you need to maintain a staff. So the more user you have, the more successful the more efficient the clean room can be. So I think private investors can play a very important role in enabling that. Now, the negative feedback would be if the clean rooms or university clean room do not have sufficient number of users, then they will downsize, they will close down. Then if there is a deep tech startup, then they don't have a place to actually do the initial proof of concept study. So we need to really try to make this ecosystem a positive feedback ecosystem where both private investors, startup companies, universities all work together and thrive.
I think you need a partnership of private capital, state through universities, and the federal government. I think the problem we're having is that all these people did believe Fukuyama, and they didn't understand the strategic importance of research. So it's a question, do you want to spend money on counterintelligence or counterterrorism operations? You look around, there are no terrorist acts. So there are two options. Either there are no terrorists, or the money you spent is adequate to prevent terrorist acts. So, but that's a matter of belief, right? And so at strategic thinking, you say, this is something we have to spend money on, regardless of the return on investment, because that sort of affects us all as a quality of life. Do we live or die? If you believe, which I think that country did until about 1985, that research is important for the standard of living, economic dominance and prosperity of the nation, then you say, we have, it's very expensive to build a clean room. It's very expensive to fill it. However, if somebody builds it and somebody fills it, they will come. But you need to have a long-term strategic vision, and I think that federal government is the place to do that. In some sense, state of Texas can do that. We're almost as rich.
I will add, having worked at Novati and, having met a lot of the employees that went through the SVTC bankruptcy, when you're depending on a lot of startup companies as your funding source, and you go through a downturn and they all dry up and you lose your customers, then you end up with an empty fab that still has the same cost. And so, there's a significant challenge there.
Yeah, one of the challenges that I've had as a biosensor company is when we're talking to investors, typically they want to see an MVP to invest in. Well, actually, before that, VCs often say that they invest in early stage companies and come to us with an idea and will invest in your company. In my experience, that has not been the case. They typically want to see an MVP to invest in. But again, the challenge is getting funding to get that MVP off the ground, and in kind of going around VC and around a lot of the expenses that I've seen, like in bootstrapping this company, you can spend 10, 15, 20, like 20K to actually understand if your MVP is going to work. That's a relatively low investment, but it can get you to that answer a lot quicker, and then you can start scaling with the partners that you've already established a relationship with.
So I want to be mindful of everybody's time. Technically, we have reached the time limit. Do you guys want me to keep going? Do you guys enjoying the questions? Or do you want to? Thumbs up, thumbs up. All right, let's keep going then. Let's keep going. Thank you for the vote of confidence here. Alex, this one's for you, and it should energize the Photonics group here. The SEMI organization, which I mentioned earlier, published that the photonics industry is growing at a greater than 25% compound adjusted growth rate, very fast growth rate compared to conventional CMOS electronics. And for those of you who don't know, photonics is computing with photons as opposed to computing with electrons. There is very little photonics here in Central Texas. I'm not saying it's zero, so if you're in a photonics company here in Austin, I'm not saying it's zero, but compared to East Coast and West Coast, it's pretty small. Alex, what do you see as the major roadblocks to a growing photonics industry right here?
I don't think there is a roadblock per se, and there are companies, they're hard to find. I mean, Google Fiber comes to mind. It's a major photonic company. But they are hard to find. Organizations like SPIE and Optica do not keep databases even close to what APS had 20 years ago. You're all APS members. You can find anybody, and you can find them in 5 different ways till Friday, right? With Optic, you cannot do this. There is a database. We are corporate members of everything under the sun. One good thing is EPIC, which is European Photonic Industry Consortium. They have excellent database. So I think that part of the problem, photonic companies don't know about each other. And then in my conversations with the governor's office, I don't think there's appreciation of what photonics can do for Texas. If you go to Photonics West or OFC conference, there will be pavilions, Montana, Colorado, New York. You'd say, 5 people in Montana have photonic company. Amazing. Texas is nowhere in sight. Then you open the bulletin and you say there are like 15 Texas companies present there. But the state doesn't have any interest in that. The country of the Netherlands has. They have like a whole huge booth in every photonic meeting I go to for the Netherlands, right? Japan has, Korea has, Lithuania at OFC has 26 photonic companies. I think there are 3 million Lithuanians in the world.
Spain.
Spain, yeah, exactly. So I think that with a little bit of work, we could get it off the ground. I don't think there's actually impediment. I think that it's just a point of explaining that a state with a huge territory and poor infrastructure, optical fiber is the way to go if you want to have a connectivity, which makes you robust against pandemics. It's a strategic investment. It's not that expensive. I'm not sure what the cost is in the United States. I do know what it is in the United Kingdom. There is a consortium of private entities in British Telecom, and out of 40 million households in the United Kingdom, 27 are on optical fiber today. And they want to finish them off by 2030. And it costs below 500 quid per household. It's a little bit more expensive in the country, in the city where you have the conduit for gas and the electrical line. It's just dirt cheap. And so if Texas did that, we could move all the Californians who moved to Austin to the hill country. Because unless you're in the real stock trading, you don't need that fast of a connection. So the Google Fiber will be just fine. So I think there's no real impediment. It's just a question of organization and sort of connecting people together.
Shuling, do you have, as part of MRC, do you have existing external collaborations to help startup companies scale when they are past the prototyping and ready for commercialization? And this kind of goes to the other 2 academic clean rooms. How do clients scale after they outgrow your facility?
So that's an excellent question. So we're at MRC as a low TRL clean room. We allow pieces, new materials, new processes to be developed there. To go from lab to fab, this is the whole thing ME Commons, part of the CHIPS Act, has been supporting. And Thai is working on higher TRL, and they do packaging, and they do 8-inch and 12-inch, and we're located in the same building, and we do talk and partner and collab. Many of us are working on both sides there. And so I think the ecosystem in Texas is getting, hopefully, at least that's the goal, is making this translation from lab to fab easier.
I guess a similar comment there with as our customers outgrow, and we have a number of startup companies using our clean room, we already work in transition for them to occupy and use the space of the new Texas A&M Semiconductor Institute clean room fab. We also know the UT Austin fab expansion. We also know a number of other universities fab being expanded just in the state of Texas. And there is a pretty robust network of each other knowing each other's new facility. So I think essentially from 2 years from down the road, there will be a lot more sort of a higher TRL, larger wafer size fab available for those who are graduating from from these initial R&D cleanups. So I think Are those clean rooms right now available? Maybe not yet, but 2 years from now, certainly. And then there are nationwide boom of some of these sort of mid-tier level clean room being built. So I think there would be, I'm hoping that there will be a lot more opportunity for that next step before those companies then go to a much larger scale foundry.
Yep, and at Texas State, we're in a very similar position. As most universities have, we also have spaces that are available to startups. So we have our Star Park, which is another space that's available for startups, and there are lab spaces there as well for companies as they start to grow. But yeah, I think that's right. There needs to be that mid-level, and that we can't offer. But
That's a nice segue for the next question.
Horacio, let me just throw in just real quick, and this isn't directly to what the fabs can do, but my good friend and the chief commercialization strategist for DARPA, Shishel Devlin Manning, has really worked on helping DARPA performers. First of all, I love DARPA because you get to talk to the decision makers, the program managers. I've got a lot of money from them, and they're working to really get a lot of their performers do well in the project, but can't make it past the valley of death commercialization. There's a lot of new support available from DARPA. So as you're looking for getting funding, first of all, it's a different sort of an organization, but they are cognizant of the fact that they need to help people more to get past the valley of death, basically.
And if you want to learn more about that, the Capital Factory is about to throw the Fed supernova. So that's coming up to learn more about that. We are getting the call to bring things to an end. There's one thing that we don't want to skip though, which is the Skywater Technologies announcement that they intend to buy. They're in due diligence, Fab 25 from Infineon, and turn it into one of these custom integration foundries. I have worked with Skywater before. Their business model is very similar to what Novati was when I worked there. And they could be bringing that last piece. That piece allows companies to go to production here. Arun, what do you think of that announcement?
I actually been to the Infineon Fab a few months ago. Several people from A&M visited. We actually have a collaboration capstone design project, undergrad student doing internship. We have quite a bit of collaboration with Infineon. If you talk to the people there, even though that fab's ownership has changed multiple times, the people running the fab, same people. They haven't changed. So I think, and that fab, very different compared to, let's say, a foundry like Samsung or Semiconductor, where if you go to a Samsung fab, it's all automated wafer handling system. Infineon, it's all manual, moving the wafer cassette. So I think that would be a really nice, okay, after they graduate from university fab to the next level, then there's some smaller, medium-scale foundry. I think there'll be a fantastic opportunity. I hope that deal goes through. I was told that that deal was sort of announced to the press by accident prematurely, but I hope the deal closes, and I think it will be a fantastic opportunity for the state of Texas. It's an amazing fab if you have a chance to go there.
Well, if there's no other comments, let's do maybe one quick question from the audience. Somebody got a question that they want to ask?
Hello. I'm hearing a lot about, like, again, precision, and these are very expensive equipment. And I'm curious about how, so making a good product, you need to make sure that it works, but you also want to make sure that the process is repeatable. And you guys talk about expanding and growing your faculty. How do you deal with trainability of personnel to make sure that it captures any gaps between when they graduate and then when they get on board and, like, doing actual hands-on work to make sure that your project is repeatably good?
So one of the things that we do as a university, student training, that's the main mission. I mean, research is the main mission, but student training through the research is the main mission. We have quite a bit of clean room staff that are coming straight from industry. So somebody who's doing a PhD dabbling into where, hey, I just need one device to work out of the 100 devices. I just need one device to work, and I get to publish that, versus staff members who are coming from industry that are very different mentality. So, for example,
out of 100, you get one failure.
So for universities like A&M Fab, we have a number of people, staff members that are coming from industry. So we are trying to really cross-train our own trainers as well as students, both from an academic perspective as well as from an industry perspective, where quality control is important, quality control of the device, quality control of the instrument, all of this is important. And so we are actually learning and adapting quite a bit from some of the industry practices into our university fab, even though that may not be needed right now for our devices, for student devices, but we want the students to get used to that kind of a quality control, what is needed, so that once they transition, let's say, to an industry or startup, they know what it takes to actually commercialize and or produce a commercial product.
And I think to add to that, there is an opportunity there where if you say we need students who are trained on this particular tool, we need students who are trained in this particular process, then that's information that can come to us. That's a tool that can come to us or we can acquire. Like, I think that there are opportunities there as a way of expanding our own facilities, but also in terms of creating the workforce that is needed to enable this new tech.
Shirlene? Well, we are live streaming, so we want to get your question.
I guess I'll come from the standpoint of academics. As we anticipate more funding coming from privatized industries, how do we balance the NDAs and the type of do not publish this work with people who are up and coming academics, who the lifeblood of academics is publications? So, like in my experience, I've had colleagues that have had to delay graduation because they could not get to the appropriate number of publications because they had NDAs signed with particular institutions. So as we have more privatized research being funded, how do we plan to balance the need for publication and the need to spread the knowledge that we have of this fabrication and of these skills that we have, and protecting the special interests of the companies that are producing this funding? Similarly, the suppression of negative outcomes. How do we balance, somebody being in the lab and maybe you don't reach the metrics that you're looking for? Can they still publish this data as important, useful information, even if it might not directly benefit the company itself, but it does benefit the understanding of science as a whole?
Let me speak to that just real briefly. You're talking about a very real problem. What you have to do is work with the company, and if they're going to say, no, you cannot publish anything that's going on here, you might want to walk away on occasion. But usually you say, look, okay, we won't publish until you file your patents. File your patents and allow us to publish. The point about things that don't work, it's very, very valuable to publish. It would be very, very valuable to publish if anybody ever would negative results. People just hate to do that. And I don't know how you overcome, that's a human nature thing. But it's tricky talking with the private companies, but try to get them to say, look, we understand that this needs to be under an NDA, but are you going to patent this anytime soon so we can publish?
Yeah, I've shopped our idea around with UT specifically, and there were two programs that they introduced me to. One was like a senior design program, and the other one was you get so senior design was like a couple of different students, and then the PhD program was you get one dedicated student. And it was known, or at least they were telling me ahead of time, for the senior design project, we're not going to publish anything, but for if you get a PhD student, we're going to want to publish. So it's kind of going into that with that understanding.
I can perhaps add University Contract Office very closely scrutinize any contract that asks for no publication. So that's a major red flag for university. If there's truly something that is not published, university will not allow students to be on that project, period. Okay, so if there's a publication restriction, in our case, Texas A&M, our contract office and the compliance office really look into this one and see whether this is really worthy of doing it or not. So in those cases, these are mostly professional staff working on those projects. That's one thing. In the case of A&M capstone design project, companies are not allowed to do an NDA. So a capstone design project, university will not sign an NDA. So those are examples of a institutional policy that A&M has that protects the student so that their publication as well as their graduation is not delayed.
All right, folks, I think we do need to wrap this up. I want to say thank you to the American Physical Society for funding this event. Thank you for the Capital Factory for having this space where we can come and meet. And thanks the panel. Thank the panel, please.
Yay to us.
Watch your step.
Hello, everyone. I won't keep you that much longer, but I wanted to say thank you to our amazing panelists and Horacio for being the brains behind this operation. Again, my name is Marcia Maxwell. I'm head of corporate relations. What does that mean? It means my role is to expand awareness of who American Physical Society is with industry. Actually, I just flew back from Boston yesterday at a biomedical tech conference, which was amazing, and had some great discussions there because as that lovely individual over there mentioned, it's more and more physicists are being hired by industry and more opportunities for industry. So we definitely want to connect our physicists with every opportunity, which also includes industry. We wrapped our Global Physics Summit in March in Anaheim. We had 15,000 physicists, but most importantly, we had a little over 200 massive companies looking to either recruit and or showcase their products and services. So, we're doing as best we can. I am local to Austin. I live in East Austin, but we're located in Washington, D.C. We also have our own scientific meetings like Global Physics Summit. We actually just wrapped our optical physics conference in Portland. One of my teammates wrapped that up. So, we're super excited about what more we can be doing around the Austin tech and scientific community. So if you're ever interested in learning more about APS, it's aps.org. I'm on LinkedIn. Reach out, grab my card. I'm happy to help you and get connected. If you're looking to publish, we have some QR codes. Check us out because we have a few students here. Feel free to check out our amazing publications and also look at us as members as well. Some housekeeping notes. We have some amazing fun ducks. So APS has this really quirky thing where we have these fun ducks. They're right back there. They're tied to our publications. Feel free to grab one before you head out the door as a lovely memento for this community meetup. If you did park in the garage, Heather has all the parking validations, so you can grab, because it's $52 otherwise. No one wants to pay that. Exactly, the survey. We have the QR codes. Please feel free to give feedback. We'd love to hear about what topics you'll like to see at the next meetup. And thank you so much for being here. And feel free to hang out for a little bit. We have a ton of wine left, and we'll really appreciate it. Happy Juneteenth, everybody, and have a fantastic rest of the week. Thank you so much.
Panelists, calling all panelists. If you have not returned your mic, please bring your mic back up to the podium. Panelists.
it starts to affect how we create relationships. And like, I'm just saying that I really by what how some values are directly for them making money and like sincere, but I think everything is connected. Like a water cycle is nothing like I never played hockey. Oh yeah. This is where we keep. This is what we're getting up the year one PhD students. There are some. There probably are some likely contacts. But like there's a flower that's involved in filter out like a plastic, and they filter it out in a way that doesn't work. So abstract. My company before this is called Abstract Therapy because I work in